Welcome to Cobra Kai Canada, and I am really, really excited for this one because today my guest is Darryl Vidal, who plays himself in the Karate Kid. Welcome, Darryl.
Thank you. Great to be here, Ilya.
Thanks. So now, if my math is correct, the movie came out in 1984. So 38 years later, people are still talking about the Karate Kid. You know, people mention Mr. Miyagi, Daniel LaRusso, Sensei Kreese, Johnny Lawrence. But now people are curious to know Darryl Vidal. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I was telling you earlier, for 20, 30 years, I was just, a regular person who had been in a movie a long time ago. And then when 30-year anniversary came around and then obviously Cobra Kai came around, it just brought so much nostalgia back, and everybody started watching Karate Kid 1 and the first three movies, and yeah, a lot of recognition came out of that. It's amazing.
You're right. Cobra Kai definitely does have a lot to do with what's going on, with all the Karate Kid movies now, because people, they watch Cobra Kai and they're just like, I want to know the history, so they go back into the original Karate Kid movies,
and so much of Cobra Kai plays off of the storyline and plot and then the little cliches that that were created back in the in the original movie. That I think that if you hadn't seen the original three movies, you'd be missing something in Cobra Kai. It's still entertaining, but there's so much callbacks to things that were in that movie that you wouldn't even believe it. It's pretty funny. But I wanted to tell you, since we talked about it and you talked about that long ago, I actually met with the director, John Albertson, probably about 10 years ago now. I met him face to face because I wanted to, try to have, a communication with him. And I asked him the question. I said, when we were creating that movie, did you have any idea that it would become such an iconic, long-lasting movie? He said, no, never in a million years,
Wow. I am still in disbelief. Like, they got this show Cobra Kai, and it's a continuation of, the Karate Kid movies. And it's just like, it's like so surreal. Like, me and my buddies, we always talk about it. We're just like, John, Josh, and Hayden, they did an amazing job.
Yeah, really have.
And there's such a demand. Like, people just want to see more. They want to see more characters. That's why your name is brought up. Your name is flowing there in the air. People are like, when is Darryl Vidal going to come on Cobra Kai? And to me, that's amazing. And like, me just talking to you is just as amazing. so now, Darryl, just going back now before Karate Kid and Cobra Kai, we'll get all to that in a second. Is now, for people that are not familiar with you, you do have a martial arts background, and you are the real deal. So I was wondering if you could just tell us a little, about your background on, when you got started, how you got started, because this is something I'm definitely interested in.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I was a child of the 60s. So, I was growing up and very young when a lot of those really crazy kung fu movies were coming out.
Oh yeah.
Where the guys would puff up or fly up into the air and spin around. And so really loved watching those. So, as an Asian growing up in Southern California, if, you played baseball, you played football, but there was always some interest in martial arts. And my dad and my mom actually went to a guy, we actually called him the faith healer, but he's actually kind of an old school Filipino guy who would make potions and do massage, and ultimately he was really like a chiropractor, a bone alignment guy. But they would go to him, and he would also train in stick fighting with his kids, and so that was my first exposure to anything when probably about 10 or 12 years old, seeing that. And so I gravitated to doing something. So we moved to a small town called Chino, which is here in Southern California. And my brother started taking karate. And so I started along with him, and I think I was 13 by then, and just started training in Kempo with the same instructor who's still my instructor after
Oh, wow.
40 plus years. Yeah. So he's he's retired now, but he still comes to, if I have a black belt test, he'll come out and grace, grace us with his presence. And, our association of our schools is still named after him. And so, 40 some plus years later. So that's how it started. And then I got my black belt when I was 18. So, and at that time I was finishing high school. I was also wrestling and boxing and doing, some other cross training, but Kempo was really my focus. And then later in years, I also studied some, like I said, boxing, Wing Chun, but I also did a lot with stick fighting. And so I continue to teach and train in the Filipino stick fighting as well.
Unbelievable. And I'm sorry, how long have you been doing Filipino stick fighting? Because a lot of people are actually, well, at least here in Canada, not too many people have heard of Filipino stick fighting.
Right. I have to say it's actually longer than I've been doing karate, but not in any structure. I would train with this guy and train with this guy and with this group of people. So I don't have any kind of, credential with a system in stick fighting. So I just basically have my own system, which I call the Murrieta Stick Fighting Club. It's people who I've been training, and I have a curriculum now that I teach, and a little bit of a ranking system, but I don't try to say, it's some kind of, better version of anything. It's just really an accumulation of what I've studied. There's three major factions in Filipino stick fighting: Eskrima, Cali, Harness. Those are all three names that you might hear.
Yep.
So I just kind of combine them all and call it, Filipino martial arts.
That's very interesting. That's something I would personally love to get into if I can find anything like that around here. But if not, I definitely know where to go.
With pandemic, I do everything online. So if you have people who want to take a lesson, I do it, and we can set up a half hour here and there and train in anything from Kempo to self-defense or Filipino stick fighting. But since we were talking and you have a little background in boxing, I think I think you would find a little bit of commonality, more so than with like karate, which is kind of strong and structured.
That's right.
And rigid.
That's right.
And in boxing, there's a flow and there's a tempo. And in Filipino stick fighting is entirely flow based. You're working off of, circles and these different type of footwork. So
absolutely,
I think you would probably enjoy it.
Oh, I think I would too. And you yourself have a little bit of boxing background as well, correct?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly. I boxed for 3 years. And about when I was a brown belt, I started kind of questioning, karate, because I was very dominant in point system throughout those years. So I would, go to karate tournaments and win the kata and then win in sparring, and said, I think I got to learn to box, because Bruce Lee boxed, right?
Yes, he did.
So, he did. And it changed everything for me, because, all of a sudden I go to a tournament and, knock somebody in the face, and get disqualified. So it's like, right cross is a little too effective for point systems fighting, so it did kind of change things for me. But, I've carried that training with me forever. And so when I train, I use my boxing, because, that's where you learn how to punch, knock people out, where
definitely,
a little bit different than what we do in karate.
That's true. Darryl, just because we're talking about the 70s and 80s era, now I wanted to ask you now, like, what was it like for you, who was like into martial arts, boxing, et cetera, to kind of like find like a school or a dojo at that time? Like, what was the difference compared to like today? Like, was there enough available for you to like?
They were around. I think if you looked, in Southern California, there, before the Karate Kid came out, they were around. You could find a a kung fu place or a karate place or even a
Okay.
taekwondo place. They were around. You'd have to go look for them. And you know, my interest, my instructor, taught through the Chino Parks and Rec department.
Okay.
So I was always kind of like training in, you know, the Parks and Rec department. You remember
Right.
when Ralph in Karate Kid 1 says, not the Y. I don't
Not
want
the
to take, you know.
yeah, the YMCA, yeah.
Yeah, but I always felt that, you know, we're kind of like the Y because we're the, you know, the Parks and Rec. And then when I moved here to where I live now 32 years ago,
Yeah.
I started my program through our community center because,
Unbelievable.
you know, they do a lot for you, but also it's a good way to give back to the community, you know, because you can make it very affordable. You touch a lot of people. And so, you know, like my instructor did, like I did, we just want to carry through with this community-based you know, martial arts system. So, and through those years, I've stuck with my instructor, and you know, I've progressed up the ranking over the years, and you know, here I am, 40 plus years later, still teaching Kempo karate. You know,
Unbelievable. That is just fascinating. And Darryl, like, how would you compare like the 70s, 80s generation fighters to today's like generation? I know my dad, for example, he would be like, we were like tough as it gets. He goes, there's no comparison. He goes, and I kind of agree with him.
Yeah, I do agree. I would classify it kind of like this. Okay.
Okay.
Old school, which is true old school, was
Yep.
60s and 70s tournament fighting. This is before pads. You know, none of that rubber glove stuff.
That's right. That's right.
We didn't even wear cups. You know, we might tape our knuckles up only so I won't bleed.
Sure.
And so right around the 70s, mid 70s, when they started saying you got to wear a cup, you got to wear a mouthpiece, and then the foam gear came out. But that era, what I call like the old school era, was rough and tumble. I mean, we were going, especially in black belt division, we're trying to knock each other out, but not maliciously, you know.
Yeah.
Right? Not maliciously. So
that's right.
I think something that was more common was to get your ribs broken because, you know, it's it's just an underhand two knuckle to the ribs, and if you're not ready for it, they're going to get broken and you're going to go down. But there's no marks left, you know, and they can't really do anything to patch you up. So you just kind of suck it up.
Yeah, that's right. You suck it up. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, black eyes and bloody lips. You know, those were kind of the norm. But then as we started to come into the 80s, they wanted to, you know, tone it down, you know. So they got the rubber gloves, you know, the cups, the mouthpiece, the headgear. And that's where I think you would start to see that point system became a lot faster and a lot more like tag, you know, where you're in and out and trying to move out and trying to score a point.
That's right.
And it's still, you know, I wouldn't consider it a bad thing. I would say that I was good at point system fighting. But there was a time when, you know, they really tried to de-emphasize getting, you know, hurting your opponent and being, you know, focusing on kiss contact or even no contact with good form, but they would be scoring points. So that's kind of like an era where I think point system started to change. But then the biggest change to, you know, the general martial arts community was in the 90s with UFC and MMA. You know, the advent of jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Now, I wrestled in high school, so you know, I had a couple years of wrestling in. So I still know how to sprawl and, you know, block a double leg and do all those, but I you know, never really followed through and, you know, taking Brazilian jiu-jitsu and all that stuff. So but I do think that has evolved too, right? Even from Gracie dominating the UFC and then
the Hoist Gracie.
Then you see the stand-up guys come back and they had, you know, Gracie killers and you know, kind of my favorite era with MMA was Lyoto Machida's time because, you know, he kind of proved that karate has a home in MMA and UFC, and you know he kind of showed how, you know, our longer range or farther distance in fighting and, you know, the the fast in and out movement does work in the stand-up scenario. So
That's right.
you know, I think it's come along a lot of different milestones and eras, and so now I think we're at a time where there's a balance. You know, you see the strikers dominate in MMA, but you got to have the wrestling core. You see BJJ on every corner, but you also see a lot of traditional karate schools out there. So
that's
you
true.
know, I think Cobra Kai tends to highlight the concept of traditional karate. You know, with Miyagi Do with its roots in Okinawa, and
that's right.
You know, and history and tradition being a key part of it. I think that kind of got lost with the whole MMA thing, and now it's back to there is something to traditional martial arts, and and there's more to it than just fighting and getting your head beat in and all that.
Yeah, definitely agree with you on that one. And now to fast forward now to the Karate Kid. Now, Darryl, did you have to audition for your role?
Okay, so I mean, no. I mean, my experience was the true Hollywood story.
Yeah.
Here I was I was a talented martial artist. I could do the kicks. I was doing a lot more flashy moves that I had seen on movies than we do in Kempo. You know, Kempo does not do jumping kicks. We're pretty much on the ground and and kicking and striking from the ground.
Right.
But I could do all this acrobatic type movement.
Yes.
And so in order to dominate kata competitions in those years, in the 70s and 80s, I started to create katas that had all these jumping kicks in it. And even though I thought I could be like the next Bruce Lee, I had no idea how to do it. My parents weren't the ones who were going to say, "Oh, we'll take you to Hollywood and get you an agent." We didn't know how to do that.
Right.
And so I kind of just thought maybe if I do good in tournaments, somebody will see me. And sure enough, I was at a tournament in Los Angeles. I had just won the kata division where, like I said, this kata has all those moves in it. Yeah. And the director, first his assistant came up to me and he said, "I want you to meet somebody." And the director who directed Rocky came up and said, "How would you like to be in a movie?"
Oh, that's awesome.
And, I was like, "Oh, yeah, of course I want to be in a movie." And he said, "Okay, well, call this phone number." And, it just happened so quick. After I called the phone number, we scheduled a date. Next thing I know, I'm in, Columbia Studios in a soundstage with a bunch of actors who are learning karate, and Ralph and Pat Morita. Yeah, it was a whirlwind, and I was totally blown away by the whole thing, and just even remembering back, I just such a naive person that didn't know anything about Hollywood to be thrust into that. Just amazing.
That is amazing
memory.
So they pretty much, put you in the Karate Kid because you were the real deal. You were a martial artist.
Right. In fact, John Alderson actually said to me, we wanted to bring some reality to the movie, but I had him sign a script. I actually have one of my original scripts that I had everybody sign.
Oh, that's so awesome.
And so his note to me said, you brought real karate to the movie or something to that effect. And
right.
It really made me feel good about that.
That's unbelievable. Funny enough, you weren't just in the All Valley tournament scenes. Correct me if I'm wrong, but did you not have a little small part in the beach?
Yeah, well, when Miyagi's doing the crane kick, that's me. I'm the double
yes.
for him on that post. And the funny thing about that is, it's not written anywhere. You can't find that in the cast or
that's right
or anything else. It wasn't until 20-year anniversary they came out with a director's cut of the Karate Kid.
Yeah,
and that director's cut. Did you really? They have they have the director and Pat and Ralph talking
Mm-hmm.
as one of the special features.
Mm-hmm.
And when that scene comes up, they go, "Oh, hey, there's Darryl, and he's such a nice guy, and he's doing the kick." And I'm like, "They're vindicated. It's me, really."
That's amazing. But was there not another part in the beach scene where you were throwing like a volleyball or something, and you were wearing all yellow yellow pants or something
yellow
like
sweats.
sweats?
It's a very, very, very. I mean, you talk about small. Yeah, it's at the very beginning of the movie where they're at the beach and they're playing soccer, and there's a long shot.
That's the part I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and the directors needed somebody to pull out of that shot, so he said, "Go down there and 100 yards out and stand there and hold this football and pretend you're throwing it." So there's a shot where I'm there throwing a football to nobody, but it's pretty obscure, and you wouldn't have seen it unless now with Netflix is so high definition you can actually see things like that.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
It's pretty obscure though.
Yeah, especially those days when you had to pop in the VHS tape, and it was a little.
You would never have known. Yeah,
it was a little different that time and stuff. But one thing I want to ask you now, this is very important because you are credited for inventing the crane kick. So not a lot of people know about this. And when people think of Karate Kid, what do? They automatically put their hands up and do the crane kick.
Do the crane kick.
Now, people that are tuning in and watching, this is your man. And Darryl, you got to tell this story.
All right. So it's funny because this has been heavily debated online. I mean, there's so many people that called me a liar. Yeah, because there's no way that I invented this kick. But so here's the way that I explain it in the script. And when the director and the writer approached me about doing the crane kick, they described to me, the kid's going to be hurt, so he's going to stand on one leg, and he's going to be doing what he had dubbed the crane kick. Now, the writer Robert Mark Kanan is a very well-trained, experienced martial artist. Goju-Ryu, as well as a lot of different kung fu styles. And so there is a crane style of martial arts, and that crane martial arts does have a kick that is unique. But what they described to me was standing on one leg, jumping, kicking, and landing on the same leg because the other leg is injured.
You're right.
And so I said, well, okay, let me see. And so I kind of knew in my mind that we really wanted to do what we call a double jump kick.
Double jump kick, yeah.
I know about that. Kick, and then land on the other leg. And I said, this is the way that I would do it because, I can jump, I can kick, I can do this. But I have to land on the hurt leg. So if you watch the crane kick, you'll see that, I come up high, jump, and land real quick and then switch back. Right. So that, I'm not really spending any time on that leg. And so that's where it's a double jump kick that almost every karate system has. I'm sorry, this is it's ringing, but it's okay. Everything from Kempo to Taekwondo to Shotokan has a version of this double jump front kick. So that's where I think a lot of people, don't like me saying that I invented it, but I'm not the one who dubbed me the inventor of the crane kick. It's really John Alvinson who did it, who said it. Right. He did. And then in addition to that, after I showed him, okay, stand like this, do the double jump kick. Okay, you're going to do that on top of a post. They basically said, okay, now you got to do something with your hands. So I said, I'll use this. It's kind of like a Wing Chun guard. And then I'll come down and do this. And then that's how the whole movement with the arms came about that created the crane kick. And so, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
That's so fascinating. And that's like just blowing my mind right now because every kid that grew up watching the Karate Kid, and, like I said earlier, like when they think of the Karate Kid, they think of the crane kick automatically. And to this day, we're in 2022 and people still do it.
Oh yeah.
It's oh my god.
I don't know if you've seen the college football, but there's a whole video of Alabama, college
Okay.
football,
Okay.
basketball. They're all. I guess it was a thing this year where they make a score. They do a crane kick
They
to
do
each
the
other.
crane
So
kick. I haven't seen that, but I will definitely check that out on
yeah, check
YouTube.
it out. Yeah,
Alabama. Okay, I will
yeah.
definitely do that. I'm definitely not going to forget about that. But one interesting fact that I heard is in the set of the Karate Kid, you are one of 3 people that were actual black belts. Who are the other 2?
Okay, so we're talking about the tournament scenes,
Correct.
and actual characters because
Yes.
I don't know if you know this that but when they were doing the tournaments, they actually threw like 3 tournaments so that the people could be exposed to real tournaments,
Okay.
and then the last one was for filming. So they had all these people come back as extras. But there were a lot of real black belts and real karate competitors in the background of those scenes.
Okay.
But
I didn't know that.
yeah. So if you sat with me, I could show you. Oh, see that guy? That's Bob White, and he's a grandmaster today. And that's Dan Ivan, and that's this guy. And there was actually a lot of very, very esteemed martial artists who are in the background of those scenes as judges and stuff. But in terms of the cast,
Yes.
So the center judge, who's Pat Johnson,
Yep.
the guy in the red shirt,
the referee. Yep.
Yeah, the referee. He's the main stunt coordinator, and he was some high level black belt in Tuxedo at the time. Then Bobby Brown,
Yep.
The other guy who, if you watch, seems like he knows karate. He was also jiu-jitsu black belt at the time.
That's right.
And then I was, Kempo black belt. So those were the 3 of us.
Those were the 3 of you guys. That's very interesting. Now, Darryl, were you in charge, or have you done did you train any of the Cobras? Like, for example, like Dutch, Chad McQueen, or was that Pat's job?
Well, it was Pat's job, but what happened was when they called me and I showed up at the soundstage, we were scheduled for 6 weeks to train together.
Okay.
So we would come back and train every day in the afternoon, and I would train with the Cobra Kais. And since I was a black belt, Pat would let me take the count, or I would lead this, or I would so I wasn't really running the show, but I had like a lead position for some of the things. And then when we got into actually choreographing fights, the fight that, for instance, me and Johnny do was fully choreographed almost entirely by me, and based on what Johnny was able to do, martial arts wise, or Billy. And then with the other guys, I might say, try this, or, block this way and then do this. And, but, they weren't really karate guys. So, it's like, okay, do this and, make it look like this. But there is one scene where I think that I like to take credit for is, there's a real short cut where Johnny he does a hook kick and grabs the guy's arm and brings the leg over and kicks him again. You know that kick?
Yeah,
I showed him. I showed him that kick. I said, "Here, do this. Hit him in the round kick, hit him here, and then bring it and do a hook kick." And then he did it, and they even brought that kick back in Cobra Kai. Somebody else does it. Cobra. I said, "Hey, there's the kick."
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it is.
Wow, that is great. They're like the ones that had no martial arts background out of the Cobras and whatnot. Who would you say kind of picked it up fast or just learned it fast? Was there anyone
definitely
in particular?
Billy Zabka. Yeah,
Billy, he was more athletic.
He was a wrestler. Yeah, he wrestled, and so when we started choreographing, he picked it up. He could kick fairly well. Not like what I would call a black belt at the time, but he's definitely improved. If you watch him today, it looks like he's did some continued training. But he was definitely an athletic person and really picked it up.
Interesting. And one of my personal favorite parts is when they're playing You're the Best Around, and we see you, Darryl Vidal, landing some back spin kicks and some efficient ones. Now, were those? They looked real. Some of those kicks that you were doing.
Yeah, you know what? I would say that I did the real kick, but pulled it, so that it didn't make hard contact. So, for instance, where I go down and I hit him, from down low, and it knocks him over.
Yeah,
I made some contact, but he went with it. But when I hit the heavy dude, I nailed him like 3 or 4
yeah.
times.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah, and that was the back spin kick I think I was referring to. Because I remember, you twisted around, you just clocked him pretty good. And
the next day he had a bruise the size of my foot on his chest. So
really,
I probably hit him 3 or 4 times the same way, because we shot it, a few times. And he was a sport. He was a good sport, because he had to run into it and take it, and I was just making sure that I wasn't hurting him. But I did hit him.
That's great, man. Like, this is like, for me now, this is like behind the scenes stuff. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
And that you actually landed a kick and, left them a little mark there on
the chest. Well, you do karate. When you do boxing, it, you kind of learn that you can take some shots and not really get hurt, So I think that's what people don't understand. Is, you pretty much can't hurt me. You can hit me and I'll probably take it, or I'll probably block it, unless you're, some UFC fighter and you're going, really going at me. You're probably not going to hurt me, because I'll just stay away and block. It's not like I'm superhuman or anything. But after you get hit a bunch of times, you just kind of, you just brush it off, So
like there's like a few like film stories I heard. Like, for example, don't quote me on this, but I think it was like Rocky IV. When Sylvester Stallone and Dolph Lundgren, as Ivan Drago, they were like doing their little boxing match in the end of the movie, and I think like they landed a couple real shots on each other, and they're good sports about it. It is what it is, right? So you just suck it up, and
you suck it up. But for Hollywood, they don't want the actor to get injured, because then they can't, do their work. So I think that's a very important component. But it also raises its head, because then you can see that these people haven't really sparred, so you see them doing this karate thing that they've seen, but they haven't really taken the shot, so they don't really look like they were really throwing it, they were really taking it. So but that's fine.
It's a good thing Rocky IV was in the 80s, so it goes back to that tough generation. So But so Darryl, you have your own Kempo school, and I would love for you to tell me a little about that.
Sure. I mean, it's pretty low key. I mean, I probably, with pandemic, my numbers have been going up and down, but since it's through the city of Murrieta, they help me with bringing in enrollment, and I like to bring in families, so I offer discounts for more family members.
Oh, that's awesome.
That I could make it very affordable. And in fact, after 3 family members, I just welcome the rest of the family for free, because there's not a lot you can do with your whole family. You can go bowling. And,
that's so true.
Maybe play golf or something, but I mean, karate is something where you're all in the room together. We're training together. We're challenged together. You're all sweating and doing.
That's right.
And if you're a kid and you look back and your dad is sweating it out and trying to do the same thing, it brings you all together. I think there's a really good sense of community and family when you train together.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. As I told you just before we went on air, is my whole family's involved in boxing, and even the women, even my mom. And,
oh, really?
Yeah, and that's what we grew up with and background and stuff, and we have a ball. You know what I mean? We're not as much as active now as we were like a couple of years back, but time to time we still hit the bag and speed bag and everything like that. Yeah. And so I can relate totally what you're saying with the martial arts, but with the whole pandemic thing, it is making it so hard for everybody, because it's affected everybody. It really sucks. It's such a drag. And, like I'm sitting here talking to the Darryl Vidal, and now I want to come down to Southern California and train with you.
Come on, actually. I'm going to have to to cut off later because I'm gonna go back. We're just today. We're going back in person. So we've been off for 3 weeks. So we're going to
That's
be teaching
awesome.
class tonight back in
That
person,
is
and I'll be sparring.
Oh man! Oh my God! Just the fact that I can train with the Darryl Vidal and tell my friends that is just, oh, it doesn't get any better than that.
You know, it's funny that you say that because I really don't talk about it much. You know, like I said, for 25, 30 years, it was, you know, a trivia fact.
Right.
And so a lot of times I'll be teaching class and I'll get new students and I'll never mention it. So sometimes someone will know me for, you know, a year or two, and then they'll see me on TV and they say, "Hey, I didn't know you were in that movie." So yeah, it's kind of funny.
I was actually going to ask you about that. Does any of your students, because now of Cobra Kai, all the young kids know about it, know that you're in Karate Kid?
Word gets around, yeah.
That's awesome. That is.
But since I never talk about it, I mean, I run my class straight up, right? We start, we bow in, we work in the whole time. Time's over, you're out, next group in, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, I don't do a lot of, you know, side chit chat except for, you know, some of my assistants and stuff.
Sure.
You know, a lot of times they don't get to talk to me about it. And, you know,
interesting.
Kind of goes on.
Yeah. So now, another thing I want to ask you, if this is true, Shawn Kanan. Did you train Shawn Kanan in any form of like any Kenpo, or was it Filipino stick fighting or?
Yeah, actually, you know, Shawn Keene and I are good friends. In fact, this is
this is getting better.
This is the shirt. This is the shirt from his book,
Way of the Cobra. I have the book.
Yeah. I just happen to be wearing the shirt. But yeah, you know, we met probably 6-7 years ago. We became friends, and then more recently, awesome. I said, "Hey, you know, you want to train on stuff?" And he said, "Yeah." So I've been training him on Filipino stick fighting. And some karate stuff, and so yeah, just on the side, just to keep him, you know, keep his moves true, because he has a martial arts background. He's done boxing, yeah. So it's not like I'm training him from scratch. It's like I'm just fine tuning some of his moves, and in the stick fighting front, it is a different, you know, it's a whole different form of flow and movement. So he's taking that, and then he's actually been able to use it in some roles that he's got coming up.
Interesting you say that, because now like the Cobra Kai universe, they're going to be like, Darryl Vidal training Shawn Kanan. Is that a possible?
Yeah. What's the significance of that?
A little spoiler alert there, or something going on.
No spoilers here.
Yeah, no spoilers here for sure. But speaking of Cobra Kai, Darryl, now you totally don't have to answer this question, but if John, Josh, and Hayden gave you a call or emailed you, whatever the case is, and been like, Darryl, would you like to come on Cobra Kai? What would your response be?
Well, just to set that up.
Sure.
In season 1, episode 1, they use a clip of me from Karate Kid 1.
Yep, I'm aware of that.
Yeah, from Johnny's flashback. So they've known of me because they had to get me to sign a waiver. So from the very beginning, they have my email. I actually sent them when I sent all the waivers back. I said, "Hey, you know, I still train."
Yeah.
I sent them a couple videos of me sparring.
Oh man.
You know, and I even told them I look like Mr. Miyagi now. So they know. So I'm just waiting. But of course, I mean, if they did, I'd be right there.
Oh, that's phenomenal. You know, it's funny because when the season 4 trailer came out, there was a Locust student, you know, with the logo, and a lot of people started throwing your name around. They're like, Darryl Vidal, maybe he's entering his dojo into the tournament. And I personally even thought that myself, just thinking out loud. I was like, oh wow, Darryl might be making a comeback here. And so that was that season 4.
So when I saw that, obviously. By the time the trailer came out, you know, they had already wrapped season 4.
Yeah.
So I saw that and I said, well, looks like they're bringing back the studio, but not me, because I already knew that I wasn't in season 4. But I have a funny story about that, because there's in the last tournaments of season 4, there's a whole group of, you know, guys with Locusts from the Locusts, and they're all real karate guys.
Okay.
And one of them contacted me through Instagram,
Oh,
and said, "Hey, I'm this guy. I can't remember his name. Is Matthew."
right.
And he basically said they all know who I am, and we're
Awesome.
trying to do stuff that would kind of
Resemble you?
harken back to me. Yeah. So
Okay.
he told me that he did some Wing Chun punches, and
Oh man,
and
that's
somebody else did some spin kicks that were reminiscent of what I did, but none
yeah.
of it really got picked up. And so, but I thought that was great that they would recognize that and do that for me.
Yeah, and it's funny because like Locust, they're still around, and
Yeah.
they're still active and whatnot. We got to see a little of them, not as much as I would love to see. You know what I mean? The way I see it,
Yeah.
without Darryl Vidal, there is no Locust. That's just the way I kind of see it, and
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, but I try not to be, I just open to whatever they put out. I think they've done such a great job with the show.
Oh, it's amazing.
I just want them to keep doing, writing great stories. And
that's right.
If there's room for me, let me know. I'll be there. I'd like to
man, yeah, that would just blow everybody away. And Darryl, a lot of people that are not familiar with you, you are a 10th degree black belt, grandmaster. Right. Now, can you people that are not really familiar with martial arts or just getting into it, can you kind of explain what grandmaster is and what 10th degree black belt involves?
So my instructor is the founder of our system, our Rosas Kempo Karate Association. So thereby, he's our grandmaster. He's the 10th degree black belt. Right. Now, when you've been teaching for many years and you're starting to get black belts coming up under you, you have to develop a hierarchy.
Yes.
And for him, our rule was you don't have to test for each additional belt after black belt, which is a heck of a test. Each subsequent test is teaching and training and sticking with it.
Okay.
If you continue to teach, you continue to train. After 3 or 4 years, you'll get ranked, and they need that to establish the ranking as more people come up. So my instructor has like 70 black belts. And so I'm the top black belt there. And so as they come up, I get pushed up. So, every 4 years, pretty much, I got moved up. And I was always teaching and training, because I never stopped.
Yeah, it's been your whole life.
Yeah. So by the time I moved out here 30 years ago, I got promoted, to 4th and then 5th. And then, my instructor's still training. So 6th. And then next thing I know, it's 2012 and he promotes me to 10th degree. I can't do anything about it, but that's what they call grandmasters. So
that's what they call grandmaster.
I'm hesitant I rarely would ever say, "Hey, I'm grandmaster," or call me grandmaster, but people do it out of respect. And so
absolutely.
I try not to diminish that. Otherwise it kind of poo-poos the whole, concept. But, I consider myself a sensei, which is a teacher.
Sure.
And I'm perfectly happy with being called sensei if I'm teaching. So the grandmaster thing, it's great. It's an honor. It's not like you start taking karate to become a grandmaster, but when you stick with it as long as I have, it's kind of one of the things that becomes of it.
That's just an amazing story, man. I'm totally blown away, and I'm sorry. I know I keep repeating this, but I just can't believe I'm talking to Darryl Vidal.
Oh, wow.
This is just huge fan, man. This is just unbelievable. But
I love talking to the fans. They are super respectful and appreciative of my experience, and so after this time, I would consider you my friend. I would hope that you consider us friends because
absolutely,
we develop a rapport. We know a little bit about each other. So
yes. As far as I know, Darryl, like the Cobra Kai, like fandom, whatever you want to call it, they are all in love with you and they want to know Darryl Vidal. And this is why I set up this interview for this main purpose. And, I hope like the fans that are tuning in and watching got a little glimpse of and history of yourself because you are a real martial artist and not just, some character in a movie. You're the real deal.
Yeah,
And
I appreciate that.
Absolutely. And Darryl, I just want to thank you so much for coming on Cobra Kai Canada. This has been honestly one of the best interviews I've had and the most funnest. And I'm just blown away that I got to talk to you. This is
well, I want to thank you because Cobra Kai Canada, that's a pretty big footprint, So, if you've got the fans in Canada, I'm here for you. And, if you want to do another one in time and save up some questions or get questions from some of your listeners, I'd be happy to come back and do some of that for you.
Yes, absolutely, Darryl. I would love to have you back. And definitely all of Canada, we know you. We love you. We know what you're all about. We know what you're all about. And once again, Darryl, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks.
I got to bow to the king.
Yeah, but no, we bow in mutual respect.
Absolutely. Darryl's the man. Thanks a lot, Darryl. Thanks for coming once again.
Oh, can I say my tags?
Absolutely.
Because I do interact with fans on social media. So on Instagram, I'm at Rockbreaker Boy. It's kind of a stupid name, but I picked it Rockbreaker Boy. And then on Facebook, it's Vidal Kempo.
Yes, Vidal Kempo. So, I will definitely be providing the link below on Instagram and on YouTube, and you guys will get all that information definitely. Perfect. And don't forget to follow Darryl Vidal. This is unbelievable. I still can't believe I just interviewed Darryl. This is a dream come true.
Well, it's a pleasure for me, Ilir, and I'm happy to meet you. And let me know what I can do for you in the future.
Absolutely. All I know is I'm coming down there for some lessons.
Okay.
Once again,
teach you tonight.
Once again, thanks a lot, Darryl. Until next time.
You're welcome. Okay, bye everybody.